Kilthity Stabtano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new FIDLAR record, 2. Fuck It Dog, Life's a Risk is a California rock band. This is their sophomore full-length record, and they broke with a pretty dirty, grimy, whiskey-soaked, stubble-faced garage punk sound just a few years ago with their full-length self-titled debut. A record that had a few standout tracks on it, but ultimately it didn't really stick with me because the Black Lips influence on this thing was just so painfully obvious. But now that the Georgia band's latest full-length record was really one of the lowest points in their entire discography, maybe FIDLAR will actually kind of come through and sort of grab that garage punk throne and put together a great, memorable, good record. Ugh. And just on the surface level of things, production-wise and musically, FIDLAR shows quite a bit of improvement here. Even on the first track. Their overall sound is still kind of gruff, but it's definitely poppier, a little bit more groomed and cleanly put together and assembled. The very snotty vocal delivery on these tracks really pops in the mix too, and even when some of the drums and the guitars are sounding a little too clean, those vocals come in to kind of balance it out and make things sound a little, mean and nasty. And sometimes the band kind of samples themselves in their own music to kind of create these repetitive cycles of beats or little musical hits to just, I guess, pepper a little bit more character or personality into these instrumentals. I guess this is just kind of the modern age of rock music. You can't really ignore the world of hip-hop and the world of electronic music. I mean, you've got to kind of embrace those aesthetics at least a little bit if you're making a rock record these days that's going to appeal widely. And there's actually quite a bit of versatility on this record. Some tracks on here, like Punk, feel really noisy, abrasive, very psychedelic-ish and in the moment. Meanwhile, the cut Leave Me Alone has these kind of gated drums on it that sound like they could have landed on some sort of 80s new wave song. So just sound-wise so far, FIDLAR, I think, has surpassed their debut record. And I think some of their best songs land on this record too, like the track West Coast, which has this really sweet, sunny, sort of citrus-flavored melody to it. Sounds like something that could land even on a Best Coast record, but as I mentioned before, those vocals pop in, sound just really very bratty, very nasty, and they kind of balance that sweetness out, and it's just a well-crafted, catchy song. I'm really loving the hook on the song Y Generation, where there's some really tight vocal harmonies on the chorus here, and the song Drone, this is a very grimy piece of pop punk here. And there are a few interesting stylistic changes of pace on this LP. FIDLAR is certainly more versatile on this album than they were on their last LP, I think, from the kind of downtrodden and very low-key cut on the song Overdose to the song Stupid Decisions, which kind of feels like a bit of 90s alt-rock with a splash of country music leaked into there. And the opening track on here has some really interesting musical bits where all of a sudden they're just shifting right into this little passage with some toy piano or some acoustic guitar, just kind of editing in this surprise instrumentation to give things more color, more personality. The instrumentation most of the time on this record is a fun listen, which is why it's so disappointing for me to be just not enjoying this album, mostly because of the lyrics and the vocals and the personality that comes through on a lot of these songs. There are moments when I'm listening to this record and I just cringe at how bratty and annoying and aimless so many of these songs are. The album generally puts forward this message that, hey, we would rather, instead of contributing something or fixing anything or really saying anything about anything, we would rather just kind of be self-destructive and whine about it the whole time. This whole record is essentially a temper tantrum that the band is throwing. They're just kicking and thrashing and screaming as life inevitably drags them toward adulthood and eventually old age. I do drugs. I don't want to go to college, Mom. I don't want a job. The thing is, all of this stuff is optional, but the band is rebelling against it like it's some kind of, I don't know, oppressive put on, and they're just battling against it, which, I don't know, is like an easy belief system to hold for a generation of people whose parents are just doting over them and handing them money whenever they need more money. And I think the results of that are kind of shown in a song like Sober, which is an excruciating song to listen to. Certainly, to an extent, I think was intentional for the song to be this annoying. It just kind of sounds like listening to, I don't know, a really indignant teenage girl from California get angry with her parents after they call her on, I don't know, probably like a pill popping issue, and just saying that she's, you know, engaging in some really crappy behavior, and she's just like, it's mind-boggling that the band would do songs like this and then simultaneously work in tracks on this record like Overdose, which is not just the quietest track on the record, to a point, but it's also the darkest song on the record, literally about an overdose. What would probably be for a lot of people a bit of a wake-up call. I mean, the lyrics on this thing are really intense, the story is kind of sad, and the explosion of guitars and drums at the very end of the song is disturbing and noisy and grim. Maybe they're trying to make a statement here on addiction and drug abuse. Maybe not. But the band relapses really quickly into songs like Stupid Decisions, as well as on the song Bad Habits. I'm flabbergasted as to how many times this band can sing about the same exact thing and cry about it and complain about it. Their last full-length record, while it wasn't deep and it wasn't original, at least it sounded like a completely shameless non-stop fucking party. FIDLAR puts the message out there that we have bad habits and we don't give a shit and we don't care, but yet it constantly comes off like especially the moment at the very end where we get the vocal line, I'm becoming my dad! Which is the biggest crisis in the world for somebody who doesn't want to be a drone, but simultaneously doesn't see how unoriginal their alternative lifestyle decisions are, as they fall into the ranks of just another easily categorized group of people. At least I can compliment this record on doing a great job of embodying a person who is completely insufferable and totally lacking in any sort of self-control or discipline. The ugly, annoying, narcissistic, and just garbage person tendencies on this album are so exaggerated, I don't even believe that anybody in the band acts like this. But yet, it doesn't really feel like satire, or that anything here is really illustrated to make a point. Even if things are exaggerated on this album, it does feel like the band wholeheartedly believes in this whole live fast, die young ethos, which, I mean, that's cool, that's your option, but simultaneously they sound super upset that their mommies and daddies aren't footing the bill for it. I'm feeling a light to decent 4 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this record a listen? If you have, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, FIDLAR, forever. Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here. You know who it is. Just wanted to tell you guys, remind you once again, coming around again to remind you about our recently launched website, where we are consistently putting up features, playlists, and the like, and currently we have a new playlist up there, a starter pack for Serge Gainsbourg. If you are looking to get into this enigmatic singer-songwriter who has put out many wonderful records over the years, but you just don't know where to start, this playlist is a good starting point. It's a good starting point. We're trying to hook you up with that starting point. So we're going to leave a link down there where you can check out this playlist, as well as a spot where you can build your own website via Squarespace, because that's exactly how this website was built. You can build a site for your home business, for your own personal passion project, whatever. The choice is yours. There's a link down there as well where you can get a discount code to do that. And yeah, that's it. You're the best. Have a good one. Forever.